Hi everyone, welcome to the Core Vitality Summit. My name is Yvonne Britton and I am joined today by Judy Koons. Judy is a medical intuitive. Welcome, Judy.
Hi Yvonne, thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Judy, to get us started, would you mind talking a little bit about what you do?
Well, you can find me at truehealthdetective.com, and what I do is help individuals essentially reclaim their life from chronic illness, chronic issues, any kind of things that are chronic.
Oh, and have you been through that yourself, Judy? Do you have your own story, as many of the people we're interviewing do?
I do. I started when I was 15. I started accumulating all sorts of chronic issues. At that point, I was already experiencing headaches 24/7, and I was already doing chronic migraines. So around 3 times a week, I would experience migraines for 24 hours at a time. And by then, I was already visiting doctors and chiropractors and so many different practitioners that weren't really able to help me. They recommended some meds and they would do their best, but nothing really touched the pain. So I gathered. I just gathered and gathered and gathered. And I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was probably years later. I was working with a bit of a nutritionalist, and I started realizing that this collecting of symptoms was because what was happening in my body was accumulative. So instead of looking at my body as malfunctioning, I was able to start looking at it like I was being exposed to too much, or I wasn't able to process things to get rid of, high levels of toxins or high levels of excess energy or toxins that I was being exposed to in the environment. So my whole mind shifted, the paradigm shifted for me, where I started looking for answers. Because at that time I was also dealing with major skin issues. My eyes, I was always dealing with allergies. It wasn't seasonal for me. It was all year long. There was always something it seemed like I was allergic to. I got really, really sensitive to smell. My digestive issues started going downhill, things like constipation and stomach, like bloating and all of that. Along with all of this was a lack of energy, lack of sleep. Like I would sleep 10 hours and I would still wake up exhausted. Like, how does that happen when you're 21 years old? I wasn't going out drinking. I wasn't partying. I was going to work. I was coming home. I was trying to feed myself properly, and I was going to sleep for 10 hours, and I was still exhausted every day. So pain was a huge part of that, because I never really slept, because I was either dealing with headaches while I was sleeping or I was dealing with migraines. It got to the point where every few weeks I would literally sleep for 48 hours. Like, wow. There was just no functioning. So I was able to do life, yes. I wouldn't say optimally, but I was sleeping for 48 hours every few weeks just to keep moving. And I was in pain the whole time. It caused me to start searching. I didn't even realize how many symptoms I had because I essentially started that way. So you and I were talking about it a little bit ago, about how I didn't even realize I didn't have sensation in my body until the sensation started coming back through my healing process. So lots of women are talking about, feeling numb or not having sensation when they're being intimate with their partner. And that's central nervous system. So my central nervous system was not registering. There was no communication there. So it got really frustrating, because then all of a sudden it wasn't just that there was something wrong with my body, but, sex wasn't really overly interested. I was attracted, just like you said you were, but there was no sensation. So I didn't necessarily recognize lovemaking as enjoyable. And I really had to work with my mind to get it involved, because my body wasn't. There was nothing there. So when that started coming back, I realized that I was really attaining true health. But all of that, I could go on for 20 minutes with all the different systems or all the different symptoms that I accumulated throughout those years. And I know a lot of women that are dealing with the same things. Most women deal with that their whole adult life. They don't even realize what symptoms they have until they start getting rid of them. But it really motivated me. I'm sure that was my passion even before that happened, but it became my motivator. And so I started searching. It was just this incredible journey of searching. And it took me through so many different modalities. And I think it was probably in my 20s I realized that we're holistic beings, where we're mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual beings. So I went off in all of those areas, spiritual studies and emotional release techniques. And it took me to The Work by Byron Katie, which I facilitate for now. I became a Rolfer, which is really about physical release. And even when I was doing that for many years and helping people, I knew there was a limitation somewhere, so I kept searching. So I've never really stayed with something for a very long time because I knew that these were all just pieces. And until I understood all the pieces and put them together, I wasn't going to be able to help people completely to attain true health. So, when herbology, I studied for years and years, and again, I noticed the limitations. Nutritional studies, off the chart. I've spent 35 years studying nutrition and the power of food. I would read research papers at night, like medical research papers, in order to try and find golden threads that moved all these pieces. And then more recently, I came across the medical medium, and Anthony really does a great job of bringing all those pieces together so that people can really understand what's underneath the surface. And it actually, I've always had really good success with clients. We've been able to help them attain true health much faster than they normally would have. But when I came across Anthony's information, something really clicked and a few more pieces fell into place, and now we've been able to really speed up the healing just because of the way that we look at things. I always use one of those optical illusion pictures of the duck and the rabbit. If you go online, you can find it. And you look at the picture and you wonder what it is. Is that a duck? Wow, I can see a rabbit too. But what happens is, based on how you're seeing that picture is how you're going to, treat the animal. If it's a duck, you're going to put it in a pond. If it's a rabbit, you're going to put it in a cage maybe. The duck would do okay in the rabbit pen, but the rabbit wouldn't do okay in the pond. Yeah. And that's one of the most important pieces of healing, is being able to recognize that you can turn all of this around. I am completely symptom-free now and have been for years because I treated the rabbit like a rabbit. I looked at the body, I recognized that there was accumulation, and I got rid of the accumulated toxins. I got rid of the accumulated pathogens. I got rid of the accumulated fat in my blood and my liver. And so to take my liver from functioning at 9% to functioning at 95%, right there, my life changed, completely changed. And that's what I try to do with all my clients too, is help them recognize that nothing happens in isolation. So it's not just one piece that's not functioning. If you have thyroid issues, it's not just your thyroid that's having difficulty. So changing the perception so that we treat the rabbit like a rabbit or the duck like a duck, so that we can really get into looking after all the pieces that contribute to, a lack of health or a lack of expression when it comes to health. And essentially, I can't find anything that people aren't able to turn around at this point. Even when pieces are missing, the body is created with such grace that other pieces will look after So say a thyroid's been removed, if that's happened, sometimes there's a little bit of thyroid left, a few cells. They'll do a lot of work, but the other glands in the body will help if they're functioning well. So it's not like we would do well without a liver. I get that. But there's a lot of pieces that accommodate or make up for pieces that aren't functioning well. So we really want to get the whole body to an optimum place. So then the symptoms don't exist anymore. We've eliminated them.
Judy, when you made that improvement and, say you went from, a low liver performance to, say, 95%, was it gradual? And what kind of things did you start to notice? And I'm really interested to know if your intuitive abilities kicked in at that point, or if you'd always had them, or if when you improved your health and your vitality, if that got stronger. A lot of questions at the same time.
That's okay. I go lots of different directions. So the liver piece was gradual, but I found the pieces that really helped that happen quickly. And you and I were talking about the lemon, ginger, honey water first thing in the morning before anything else, and really doing that more than once a day. If a person can do that more than once a day, you're dealing with liver cleanup. You're dealing with bringing inflammation down. You're dealing with getting rid of chronic dehydration. So it's one of those perfect drinks that helps to do many, many things in the body. And that's one of the reasons I like the medical medium information, is because it's very, there's a combination of things that are happening with each piece of the protocol. And so that lemon, ginger, honey water, that's what I start everyone with, because I've not come across anyone that hasn't had a liver that's struggling to some degree. It's just the life we live. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's what we need to deal with. And a lot of the symptoms that are related to liver actually get blamed on other parts of the body. So that's what I noticed the most. When my liver was really doing well, I noticed that all the symptoms that, the mainstream would have blamed on the thyroid, a lot of those symptoms went away. So I wasn't focusing on the thyroid. I was focusing on the liver, really getting it cleaned up and loved up. And all of those thyroid symptoms went away. Okay, well, I like that. So those symptoms start going away. What other symptoms started going away? Well, my digestion started really improving, because you need your liver to be functioning well in order to process all that food that's so good for you. If your liver's not functioning well, your digestive enzymes and the bile that breaks down the fats in your diet aren't able to do that, and you're only getting 10% of the nutrition out of your food. So when your digestion is improving, that's an indicator that your liver is improving too. So there's a lot of those symptoms that we don't necessarily credit the liver with, but that was the biggest thing I noticed as my liver gradually improved, was that all of those other symptoms started going away too. So to me, it was a real important piece. And it's not like I didn't focus on those other pieces as well. There's 6 things I really focus on in my practice with people, and that's herpetic viruses, herpetic bacteria, toxic heavy metal load, adrenal fatigue, chronic dehydration, and liver functioning. I find if you focus on those 6 things, the majority of the other pieces will come along with it. So when I get rid of the herpetic viruses and the liver's functioning really well, the thyroid improves functioning. It's absolutely fabulous to watch that happen. And, of course, we go into some specifics as well. But everybody benefits from focusing on those 6 things to some degree, and liver being a really huge, big part of that. Lots of people will try and get rid of viruses and bacteria, but it takes them a very, very long time, because the liver can't handle what's happening. So by getting the liver happening, then the rest of it comes along much, much quicker. My intuition really, really has been right from the beginning. But for me, it wasn't about not having intuition and it coming on. It was about me listening to about 100 radio stations all at once, because I was so sensitive in my nervous system, and my nervous system was so inflamed that I was super oversensitive. And so I couldn't really focus, because it was all the time I was being bombarded with 100 radio stations, all the feelings and the sensations and the visuals and the audio. And then as I worked through the process of healing, my nervous system healed, and I was able to get very, very clear in that I could listen to 1 or 2 radio stations at once. So then I was able to really use that intuition to help others to recognize what was happening with them physically, what was happening with them mentally, what was happening with them emotionally, and what was happening with them spiritually. And now if I'm in a group of people, I can actually communicate with others, because I'm not so overwhelmed with all the information that I'm picking up on all the time. So the intuition, it became more focused through the healing process. But for most people, it actually really deepens, because it's the same kind of thing. You're not feeling well, and you've got all this sensory input, and all these symptoms are causing you to be distracted and overwhelmed with information. And as you go through the healing process, that information is not as intense. So then you start listening, or you start being able to hear what's happening in your body or in your mind or in your heart. And so your intuition develops that way, or you can hear it, because it's the subtle language. Migraines are the loud, really harsh language, and intuition is this very subtle, profound language. And so you need to bring the noise down so that you can hear it for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing that. Can I just go back to the bit about the 6 points? So you mentioned it was the viruses, the bacteria, the heavy metals, the liver, and the chronic dehydration. For the liver, and you say maybe your liver, you start doing this, let's say, medical medium protocol, and maybe it might be too much at once, and your liver can't handle it, depending on the supplements or whatever you're doing. Could that be the reason that people have experienced like weight gain or are not able to shift weight?
Absolutely. When you're killing off viruses and bacteria, they put out even extra toxicity than they would be if they were still alive. And so your body is always trying to protect you. And so your body will take that extra toxicity, and it will put it in tissue, in extra tissue, in order to protect you from having really high levels of toxicity in your organs. So when your liver can't keep up, your body will literally try and protect you by putting on weight or by storing toxins away from the very main organs that are keeping you alive, like your heart and your liver and your kidneys and everything else. So it's a way for your body to protect you. And so gaining weight when you start working with protocols is an indicator that your liver is not functioning well. And sometimes it takes months for your liver to be functioning well enough to focus on the toxicity that has come up in your body, because it will prioritize. Your body will prioritize the most important things first. So it's going to look after your ability to exchange oxygen and your ability for your heart to function and those things that keep you alive, your brain functioning. And then it will start focusing, after it's helped that out, they'll start focusing on letting go of that weight. So your liver is very important when it comes to that. It's imperative, actually. I have lots of people that... Go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish. You might actually answer my question.
Well, and that's the thing. I have people that, why am I still dealing with all this extra weight? And it's because it's sometimes really hard to recognize that the liver is struggling. And as soon as I take a look and see that liver is struggling, it's much more, it's just easier for individuals to accept, my liver's still struggling. So if I look after my liver, then, I can drop this extra weight because it's stubborn and it just doesn't want to go away because it's trying to protect you. It really is. The body does everything it does to protect you.
And that information, I think, is really powerful, isn't it? When I think it's the same when you were mentioning the part about intimacy, or whether it's putting on weight, or maybe sensations that you have or don't have, because a lot of it is, sometimes we think, is there something wrong? It must be me, there must be something wrong with me. But if you have that knowledge, I think there's also a release when you, first of all, you know what it is, and then you can do something about it. It's very powerful. And what do you do then, Judy? What do you recommend for people that are gaining weight? Do you normally look at maybe their supplements or what they're eating? What would you tend to look at or focus on first if that was the case?
Well, if that was the case, I would actually look at the overall picture as far as what people are using for supplements. So if I was to work with you, I would look at what supplements you're taking, where your liver is functioning, what all the other pieces are doing too. I love to do kind of an intuitive look at, how well is the thyroid functioning? How well is the lymph system functioning? What other viruses are you dealing with? How much cleanup do we need to do in the blood? And with a full big picture, then we can look at what pieces to let go of for now until your liver is functioning better and it can handle it. We can look at other ways that you can help your liver so that your liver is not doing all of the work. So it's really about taking an overall view and then bringing some things down and increasing the things that allow your liver to not work so hard. Things like dry brushing and Epsom salts baths and very gentle walking or rebounding, just to get your body getting rid of the toxicity levels that are increasing as you get rid of the viruses and the bacteria and as you clean up your system. So those would be things I would look at if I was to be supporting someone and really knowing where your liver's working, because I really like people to use their own intuition. Yeah, I believe everyone has intuition. Again, when you're not feeling well, everything else is so loud, it's hard to hear that real subtle language that's being shared with you all the time. But as we give you a starting point and as you're able to correlate what's happening with the disappearance of your symptoms with the increased functioning of some of your body parts, then your intuition really starts kind of kicking in. And I have lots of clients that are like, oh, I'm so glad you said that because I quit doing that, 3 weeks ago, because they no longer have pathogens that they have to deal with. They can start dropping some of the supplements. And so their intuition is kicking in because they get quieter in the physical sensation, in the symptom that's speaking to them. So it's not always about more. Not always about using more herbs or using more supplements. Lots of times it's about kind of dancing with that and using what you need at the time and getting focused on the liver so that it can handle using more of those supplements. Because looking after deficiencies in the beginning, people need what they need. Like I need what I need. So my body's really tight. My body's having difficulty. I need magnesium. I need potassium. I need those adrenal snacks that are so valuable. But I don't need so much to look after the deficiencies. I only want enough to look after what I need. Looking after deficiencies in the beginning when your liver's not functioning is overloading your liver. And it's decreasing the value of what you're taking because you're really not able to process all of it. So your liver's going to look after lots of deficiencies if you get it functioning, because then it can get 90% of the nutrition out of food instead of only 10 or 20. So it's just a matter of being able to have an overview. Put it all down on paper, what it is you're doing, and take a look at, okay, does this feel like this is too much? Do I feel like I'm doing enough to help my liver detox this whole body? And kind of play with it that way and see how you feel. Because if you're feeling exhausted and you're hurting, you definitely need to help your liver and your kidneys to do more detoxing in your body. Use your skin. It will help you detox things as well.
So, Judy, for the emotional part or the part where there is some kind of resistance, what would you recommend there?
Well, if you're resisting, I do the work by Byron Katie. I've been facilitating that for a lot of years now, because what I've come to recognize in myself is that if you have a belief, you're not going to be able to take action against that. So your beliefs cause actions. So the ability to go through these protocols and allow those beliefs to come to the surface so that you can use whatever tools you have access to either let that emotion move through or to collapse the beliefs that stop you from, doing what you need to for yourself to attain true health. It's so very powerful to not work yourself over for what you feel you are not able to do. The stress levels are really detrimental. They actually slow down the amount of healing that can happen in your liver. So your ability to, do the lemon ginger honey water and maybe do the celery juice on the weekends or do the heavy metal detox smoothie on the days that you have time or that you can. Know that every single thing that you're able to do is going to help you move forward. But if you stress about what is hard or what is too much or how you're feeling about it, you're going to be slowing down your healing. So you do what you can and go gentle with yourself. It's about being compassionate and really knowing that you can get there. Lots of people are. I really like to use support as a most important aspect of this process. That's why I put a program together. It's a 16-week program that allows you to have all the information that you need. But more than that, it's about being able to have support and being able to be part of a community that's like-minded. Because often when you're working through this process for yourself, what you really need is to be able to hear what's happening for you. So having a group of like-minded individuals that you can use to process through what's happening for you, why you're resisting, what's hard for you, what you're having difficulty doing, hacks so that it can be easier. Because if you're having difficulty and toast would be the easiest thing for you to do in the morning, choose a sweet potato slice that you put through your toaster for a few times instead of grains, So people that have also done this so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's so very valuable. And that's why the program that I put together lasts for a year. It's about the support. It's about having others that are doing this with you or alongside you. Maybe your family's doing it with you. Maybe they're not. It's okay. It's okay. You can find a practitioner. You can find a friend. You can find a program to work with to be able to take you there efficiently, effectively, in a practical way and in a supportive way. I know so many clients that have shared with me the most important thing that they had was support, because they sometimes didn't know what was happening or they didn't know how to work through that piece. And somebody in the group was able to support, or somebody in the group was inspiring, or somebody in the group was able to help them make it easier. There isn't anything better than having your health back, having your sex drive back, having your energy increase, having, your digestion work optimally. It's so worth it. And I never say it's easy, but I do say it's simple. So if you can look for the simple ways to do it, build yourself, a wall of sticky notes that allow you to see the overall big picture so that you can recognize where to focus. Do little tricks that allow you to take it where you really want to go. sometimes we have to. Sometimes we have to be able to see it with a little bit different perspective so that we can really make this an efficient, effective process for ourselves and get our health back. There's so much in life that we can do if we have our health back.
That's
so powerful.
True. So true. Judy, could you just repeat, you mentioned at the beginning where people can find you. Would you mind just repeating your website?
People can find me at truehealthdetective.com. And I actually have a page where you can try out the program a little bit for a few dollars, and it's truehealthdetective.com/special. So if you go there, you're going to be able to find, something that maybe works for you. But I'm here, and that's what I do. I help people to look at all these pieces, the emotional and spiritual, physical and mental, bring it all together so that you can live your fullest potential. Yvonne, I've loved talking with you today.
It's been amazing. Thank you for everything that you do. It's so powerful and so kind at the same time.
I know what it is to feel pain for years and years and years, and I know what it is to feel joy and not have pain anymore. So I want that for as many as are willing. So I hope you have an absolutely amazing rest of your day. And I love your accent, just so you know. And I love that you're doing this healing journey and supporting. I'm absolutely sure that you doing this is going to inspire so many people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Judy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Mm.
I've just